Welcome to the Doghouse. Have a listen as we take a look at life, love, and art in all its forms. Here's your host, the Rock Dog, Andrew Davis.
I'm excited to introduce my guest today. I've known him for many, many years, so it's pretty cool to have him here in the Doghouse. Dustin Forbes, how you doing?
I am fantastic. I have shades of 2009 and
Isn't it weird?
2010. Yes, it's odd.
Where I record the Doghouse is a former radio station where actually I worked at 98.9 Jet FM in the Comox Valley. Dustin worked there as well.
Yes.
What'd you do? You were like cruiser, right?
Yeah, well, I started as the sports scene team.
Yep.
And when you asked me to come on, I was like, okay, and I have to go back and think of everything that I've done at Jet and so on and so forth. But yeah, I started at, to go all the way back, I won a competition at the career fair, right?
Okay, we'll go back to that. Let's go even further back to little Dustin. You grew up here, right?
Pardon me?
You grew up here?
Yeah. Born and raised in the Comox Valley, grew up here and
Graduated at Vanier.
I did, yes. Vanier graduate. Arden graduate, then Lake Trail, and then Vanier.
And I know your family's still here.
They are, yes, all the family. And
your mom and dad?
Mom and dad.
And little sisters?
Yes. Good Lord. I'm 28 now, and I have a 17-year-old sister, and I have an 8-year-old sister.
8-year-old sister, too.
Bonkers. I was through my first year college when she was born, so everybody thinks she's my kid. I'm like, no. Heck no.
It's bad enough your older sister.
Yeah, I know.
We're kidding. So things were good.
Yes.
Childhood was good. You had a lot of good friends.
It was fantastic, man. I loved every minute of it.
What was your favorite part about growing up in the Valley?
I think just the opportunity to do anything. I mean, I remember when I was 17 years old, and so it's later, you're in your really formative years. But at that time, I was doing play-by-play for the Comox Valley Glacier Kings, and it was one of the best days ever. Me and my friend Aaron, we went golfing first thing in the morning. We went swimming in the afternoon, and then we called a hockey game that night. And, like, you can't do that in a lot of places in the world. And, I miss it every day. I miss the ocean. I miss the mountains. And, of course, being out on the prairies, you don't have any of that. So
Lethbridge, yeah, because now you're calling the games for the Lethbridge Hurricanes of the Western Hockey League.
Yeah, season 6 there right now. So time flies when you're having fun. It's kind of crazy that I've been there 6 years already.
That is crazy. How old's the team? How old's Lethbridge? Have had a team?
This is year 33 in Lethbridge, and prior to Lethbridge, they were in Calgary as the Wranglers, and then they were in Winnipeg. In fact, they were the very first Winnipeg Jets franchise. And then when the World Hockey Association moved into Winnipeg, they bought the naming rights to the Jets from the Western, or the WCHL team at that time. And so they... Yeah, the claim of fame is that they're the first ever Winnipeg Jets.
They're the Jets.
Yeah.
I wonder how many players have gone on to actually play for the Jets.
Probably not a lot. I'd have to go back and look. That's actually a good question.
Now, the way we met is back at Jet FM, probably back in 2008 maybe?
2008, yeah.
We were part of a job fair at the base.
Yes.
And you entered a contest where you could co-host a show with one of the DJs.
Yeah.
And it was Joelle and Patty in the morning, and it was me in the afternoon, and for some odd reason, you picked me.
Because I hate mornings. That's why.
This is why we got along so well, because that's the exact reason why I did afternoons.
Yeah, I hate mornings. I'm not a morning person. Being a hockey guy, even more so. Now I hate mornings. But yeah, the funny story is I wasn't even going to go to that career fair.
Yeah.
And I showed up to school the day of it, and my buddy Bo Mickle, who I played hockey with and went to school with, was like, dude, why aren't you coming? I'm like, yeah. At that time, I had already decided that I was pretty sure I wanted to go to BCIT and kind of take the journalism radio course there. And so I had decided that that's what I was going to do. I don't need to go to the career fair because this is what I'm going to do. And he was like, dude, you get to miss school. I'm like, yeah, good enough for me. So I, 8:15, I get to school. I grab a permission slip from the office, forge my mom's signature, hand it back in on the bus. Away we go. And then you guys were broadcasting live there, and you had that competition of enter. You get to co-host a show. And I was like, okay, well, this is pretty darn cool. Yeah. And I don't know if it was natural selection of me getting it, or if I annoyed the hell out of you guys enough to say, hey, maybe this is the guy we should maybe choose. But I ended up winning, and didn't like mornings, so
Yeah. Came on my show.
came on
and
you with you. And
we became fast friends. And this is where I realized, like, when Dustin says that he wanted to be a play-by-play guy forever, he's not lying. Like, this is what he wanted to do since the first day I met him. Well, what he wants to do, actually, is play-by-play Vancouver Canucks, but he's going to get there eventually. But the one thing is that you knew what you wanted to do, you had the drive and you had the ambition, and you went out and did it.
yeah, and I mean, there's been so many good people along the way that have helped me, like yourself, and Pete Montana, and David Marshall Webb, who kind of gave me the first chance to do play-by-play with the Glacier Kings in town, and so many other people through every other stop. I think to Dallas Hicks in La Ronge, who gave me an opportunity coming out of college when no one else would hire me to do play-by-play. And I was kind of at a point where I was in Victoria. I just finished. I graduated college in April or May from BCIT, and part of that you have to do a year-end internship. And so I did it at Czech News in the sports department with Jeff King, and at that time Mike Walker and Paul Haysom were the trio in the sports department there. And of course, some pretty good tutors to kind of shadow and learn from there.
Yeah.
And got on doing communications and was kind of the backup play-by-play guy for the Victoria Shamrocks in the Western Lacrosse Association, and got through that season. And it was like middle August, and I hadn't gotten a job. I had applied for the Merritt Centennials, I had applied for the Surrey Eagles, so many other junior A teams, even a couple of Western League teams. And I was young and had some experience, but not at a high level. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to have to move back to the Valley. I was staying with my grandparents, who live back in the Valley now, but they were living in Victoria at the time. And I called Marcia Webb, the owner of the Glacier Kings. I was like, hey, I've always wanted to be a play-by-play guy, and I don't want to step away from doing it. Can I come call for you again?
Yeah.
And within 2 weeks, I was moving to La Ronge because I had applied for that job and gotten it. And, the rest, they say, is history to this point now.
Now, I think a lot of people don't realize this. You travel with the team, right?
I do, yeah.
So what's that like, traveling with a team? Like, La Ronge is like, what, way northern Saskatchewan?
Yeah, La Ronge is about 3 to 3.5 hours north of Prince Albert.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's way up
way
there.
up. So it's basically like parallel with Fort McMurray.
Not a lot of people there, I would suppose.
3,500 people.
Yeah.
It's very small.
Probably a hot hockey market, though.
Yeah, they like their Ice Wolves. They're not very good now. They haven't. I don't know if they've made the playoffs since before I was there, and that was 8 seasons ago. So it's a tough place to recruit to. But yeah, we'd ride the bus, and of course, like in the Western League, it's even more so because we travel from anywhere from Winnipeg to Victoria and down to Portland.
Yeah.
So it's busy. I know. I was telling the math because I was watching a Flames game, and they talked about how up until this was end of November, so they had done 42,000 kilometers in their season. I was like, yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
And then so I was like, but like first class charter, come on, like it can't be that bad. And so I went back and I was like, up until the Christmas break, the Hurricanes, we've done over 12,000 kilometers on a bus.
And all by bus.
All by bus, yeah. We're not allowed to fly in the WHL.
Why is that?
Levels the playing field. You've got the Calgary Hitmen and Edmonton Oil Kings, who are owned by the NHL teams. You've got, the head of White Spot, Ron Toigo, who owns the Vancouver Giants. So teams like that would be able to afford to fly, where little community-owned teams like Prince Albert or Lethbridge wouldn't be able to afford to fly. So
it's kind of like Toronto, New York Rangers versus Buffalo, Florida type thing.
Exactly right, yeah. So
how did you end up getting the Lethbridge gig?
That I was in, so I had done the one season in La Ronge, and the head coach and general manager in La Ronge, his name was Bob Beattie. He bought in to the Cowichan Capitals in the BCHL. And so for those that don't know, La Ronge is a junior A team, so in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. And Bob moved to Cowichan, and they were looking for a play-by-play guy, and so I kind of saddled up with him and moved out and took the Cowichan job. And the season had ended, and I was at home. I had Mondays off. I was sitting at home, and I got a notification on my cell phone from Twitter saying, this person, all play-by-play guys have followed this random radio station. I was like, what's Rock 106? So I opened the notification, and it was them basically announcing that they had signed a 4-year partnership to take on the Lethbridge Hurricanes broadcast rights. So I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So I kind of poked around and looked at Milkman, no job posting. Looked at Rogers, no, because we're a Rogers station, so didn't see any posting anywhere. And I was like, you know what? The hell with this. I picked up the phone and I called the Hurricanes office. And I called their office line and was like, hey, like, heard you guys signed a new deal. Not sure if you're looking for a play-by-play guy or if you have one. If you're looking for one, are you going to be hiring? If you are, how do I apply? Who do I apply to?
Yeah.
Kind of all those dumb questions when you cold call, essentially. And it ended up that they were like, well, send us your stuff. So I sent them my resume and demo, and they liked it and called me back. I was 23 years old, and which is pretty unprecedented to get to the WHL at 23. So I was like, I didn't really have any expectations for it. I was like, hey, I'm going to put my name in there, and maybe that'll help me down the road kind of deal. And got a call back, hey, yeah, you're shortlisted to our top 3. Will you do a phone interview? Sure, yeah, 100%. So I did the interview on a Friday, and with my boss in Lethbridge, Terry, and he's got a big, deep, mean voice. Yeah. We always joke he's scary Terry. So you're on the phone with this guy. There's 2 or 3 other people asking you questions on the phone on a Friday, and he's like, okay, well, we're interviewing 3 other people, and we'll have a decision by Monday. We'll call you and let you know either way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I was like, there's no way I'm getting this job. First off, I'm too young. I'm 23. And I was like, there's no way. Like, there's probably so many more highly touted people that are up in the running for it. And my ex at the time was like, no, you're going to get the job. She was looking at places to live in Lethbridge. I'm like, you're wasting your time. And then got the call on Monday morning, would like to offer you the job. And I was like, holy crap, I didn't think of that. To put this in perspective, like 23 years old, and I'm a pretty humble guy, I don't like to brag, but 23 years old is so unprecedented. Like, I'm 28 now, this is my 6th season, and I'm still the youngest guy in the league.
Yeah.
6 years later.
To be
like
a play-by-play guy or at 23 years old in a league like the WHL is pretty much, I think it's unheard of.
Yeah. There's 3 other guys in our league now that are the same birth year as me.
Yeah.
But this is my 6th year, and this is 1, 2, and 4, I think, for those guys.
So it was like your first game. Here it is, your Western Hockey League, Canadian Hockey League, the major juniors.
I know it, and I'm not the type of person that gets all that nervous about things, but I'll tell you, I was nervous. I was nervous that day. Holy crap! I don't even remember, and I know the Hurricanes lost. They played the Medicine Hat Tigers, and they lost. And I took over in Lethbridge. They had won 12 games the year prior.
Ooh.
And there was a lot of turmoil around the team going, are they going to stay? Are they going to go? Are they going to sell? Because they're a community-owned team. And so, that has its challenges when you're not very good because you very much rely and live off of ticket sales and everything. And they weren't doing very well. And there's a lot of people that are like, why are you going? Like, that team's going to move. They're going to fold. Like, you're going to be without a job in a year. And I'm like, 23. I'll figure it out. Why wouldn't I?
Been out of job before.
Yeah, exactly. So, 6 years now later, and my first year they won 20 games, so it wasn't a very great season. And then they revamped, and Peter Anholt took over and hired Brent Kissio, and since they got in there as a 1-2 tandem, we've won a division. We've gone back-to-back conference finals. We had a really good year last year that came up short in the 7th game, and this year was supposed to be the transition year because in junior hockey you always have a transition year, and we're top 3 in the conference again, so it's been fun.
And a transition year would be like when the 20-year-olds move on, right?
Yeah. Like we had, from last year's team in Lethbridge, Jordy Bellarave, Jake Lecision, Nick Henry, Jake Elmer, Taylor Ross, and Igor Merezhko, who are all playing professional hockey at some level. So you turn over 6 guys like that, you're usually expected to go backwards, but we've got a really good group with Dylan Cousins, who a lot of people probably, hockey fans anyways, will know that name. He's 7th overall pick by the Sabres last year. And, Kalen Addison, 2 guys that are playing for Team Canada at the World Juniors. So it's been a fun ride. And it's funny, like I always say to people that ask, what's it like? I'm like, to be honest, you don't really kind of realize it's like, this is my job we have a game Wednesday, we have a game Friday, we have a game Saturday, and that's all I'm focused on.
Yeah.
You know, people will say, "Oh, well, where do you play in 2 weeks?" Couldn't tell you. Like, ask me in 2 weeks. Like, I go week by week. It's like that old adage, like players say, "Oh, well, we go one shift at a time, one game at a time." It's like, seriously, because if you try and think, okay, well, the next 20 games are, it's like not even possible. So it's like you go week by week, and then all of a sudden you're halfway through your 6th year.
You figure all your writing skills and everything have gotten better over the years?
Oh yeah. Yeah, writing. You know, it's important. I mean, and I do. So like my I do a lot right now. So like I'm the midday host at our radio station 106.7 Rock in Lethbridge. So 10 to 3 on the day-to-day. I do the play-by-play for the hockey team, but I'm also in charge of all the communications for the hockey team as well. So all press releases, game notes, stats, all things like that. So there's a lot of writing involved.
Yeah.
I write game day previews for the newspaper in Lethbridge too. So yeah, there's a lot on the plate. So a lot has developed over the last 6 years.
Writing with me has always been hit and miss. Either I've excelled at it and I've done well, or I've done really poorly at it if I've let it slide.
Right.
And over the last 12 years in radio, the printed word doesn't really, other than on Facebook. So I've kind of lost the ability a little bit. But I'm gonna go back to school, so hopefully that's gonna work as well.
Yeah, that'll be good. I know, like when I was in BCIT, like we were like a cluster, of people, because like I had worked here in Courtenay and had done almost 2.5 years at Jet.
Yeah.
I'd done the play-by-play for the Glacier Kings for 2 years. So I had kind of like the, start. Yep. And when I got to BCIT, it was like a calamity of a bunch of people. Like, there was one guy who had been a business owner and operator. He was like 42 years old. That was in our program. We had education people like who had gotten degrees. We had a psychology. Like it was anyone and everybody that just kind of wanted to go into media, and so it was funny because they teach you basically to essentially when you're writing a script for television or even radio to a lesser extent almost, to write in fragments. Like you're writing in fragments, you're speaking in fragments. And so for the highly educated, unlike myself, they're like, this doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
This isn't a complete thought. And so going from that to then transitioning to do the communications is like, okay, like I have to kind of put on my English hat again, call Mr. Olson from Vanya and go, hey, man, I need help again. Like, give me a try here.
I found a great program. It's called Grammarly. You have to pay for it, though, unfortunately. There is a free version out there, but it fixes grammar mistakes. And most important for me is punctuation.
Oh, yeah.
I forget punctuation all the time. And then people read my stuff and they go, what the hell are you trying to say? Are we jacking off a horse or are we helping Uncle Jack off a horse?
Yeah. Punctuation is very key.
I know that you were embarrassed by it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I got to
I knew this was going to come up.
I had to.
Yeah.
The call. The call of the flyby. Which goaltender was it?
Stuart Skinner, who
he's an Oiler, ain't he?
He is, yes. Got called up in early December on an emergency basis, and he scored a goal.
Scored a goal in the junior leagues and into an empty net, and then he decided to do a flyby. For those in hockey that don't understand what a flyby is.
So basically when you score a goal, you celebrate with your team, right? So you score a goal, you kind of do your fist bump and high fives with the guys on the ice, and then you'll go to the bench and kind of fist bump every guy on the bench. Well, it's very rare that a goaltender scores a goal. It was the first time in Hurricanes history, and I think it might have been the 5th time in Western League history that a goaltender scored a goal, and Stewart celebrated on the ice, and then he skated all the way to the bench at center and did the flyby and high-fived everybody. And I was sick at the time, and I could barely talk on the Thursday. The game was on a Friday, and it was a big game because that year was the first year with Brent Kissio, the year, my second year, so it was the year after we had won 20 games, and the team hadn't made the playoffs in 6 years. And that night, if the Hurricanes got, I think it was a single point, so if they won, essentially, they clinched the division for the first time since 1997.
Wow.
So 20 years, the last time that they had won a division. And we're looking to make the playoffs for the first time in 6. And So it was a big game. It's always a big game when Medicine Hat and Lethbridge get together. It's like kind of like the Battle of Alberta in the NHL, right?
Yeah.
It's the Oilers and Flames. It's kind of the same kind of feel because you're an hour and 45 minutes away. And and the Hurricanes were up 6-3. Was it 6-3? No, 7-3. And Medicine Hat was fighting for a playoff spot, and so they pulled the goalie. And David Quinville, who plays for the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, the New York Islanders affiliate, shot the puck in from center, and Stewart, like goalies do probably 14, 15, 17 times in a game, comes out behind the net to stop the puck for the defenseman. Well, we're up by 4, and he kind of just took a shot at it, and
it goes.
It went all the way down, over the defenseman's head, all the way down, and the call is,
Skinner looking for the empty net, rolling, he scores! Stuart Skinner! Unbelievable! Stuart Skinner has a goal! Oh my! Oh wow! And he's gonna do the flyby! Yes! This is unbelievable!
It's historic.
yeah.
It's absolutely historic. Hey,
It went pretty viral.
it went very
Oh, man.
viral.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be embarrassed by it. Really.
It sounded like a 14-year-old.
It did. Your
yeah.
balls dropped
Yeah.
halfway through. You lost your voice partway through.
Yeah.
But it's one of those memorable calls. Maybe it won't be a Henderson
Yeah.
Stars or the Golden Goal, but it's when people talk about lists of great calls, this is going to come up time and time again. You watch
Yeah.
over the years.
Well,
You're only
it's-
28. You're going to be sitting in a retirement home. You're going to be 108, and you're going to see it come
Lord,
up, and
I
it's
don't know
a
if I want to live that long.
well, of course you do. I'll be in the retirement home with you.
Yeah.
A little bit older.
Sounds like a great time. Yeah, no, it gets brought up often. I mean, and of course it will, because it did go viral. Like
Yeah.
like Jimmy Fallon played
Yeah.
it on the Tonight Show in the States, and one of my color guys, Brian Hancock, was in England with his wife on vacation, and they first saw it on TV
In
on the
England.
morning news
in England.
in England, and it went crazy. I think I did like probably 14 interviews about it. There's a television station in Australia that like called me and did a interview. Czech in Victoria did a Sky. It was insane. Yeah, it was absolutely bonkers. I didn't think it would get as much traction as it did, but it did.
It did.
Yeah.
I'm assuming with all this hockey that you watch and at a high level, that your hockey IQ is I mean, you were good to begin with, but your hockey IQ is probably right up there, eh?
I like to think so.
Yeah.
I like
Calling
to think
these
so.
games.
You get to learn a lot, right? I mean, I travel with the team, so when we're on the road, like we'll have breakfast and the coaches will do their pre-scout for that night's game, so I get to sit in and kind of watch what they're looking at and learn the ins and outs of what it's like to be a pretty high-level hockey player. I played hockey when I was a kid. I was pretty good, but I bigger guy.
Yeah.
I had people tell me, hey, if you get in shape and trim down and improve your skating, you might be able to play junior with your skill set. But I was like, I get to play hockey with my best friends. Like,
Yeah.
I'm good. Like this is fun.
This is good enough for me.
This is fun for me. I started late, so I never really
Yeah.
thought that there would be a chance for me to play. So I never really took it seriously. And, so you play, you learn. Ken McKenzie was my my coach my first 3 years in minor hockey here in town, and I learned a lot from him. I mean, there's things that I'll say on the broadcast when I'm breaking down a play that are stuff that he said when I first started playing hockey when I was 12. So, the hockey IQ. I'll play floor hockey. I don't play ice hockey anymore because the time constraint is pretty heavy with the Western League schedule, and I don't need a puck or stick in the face because then I can't do my job. So I have buddies in Lethbridge that play. They're like, oh, you should come out. I'm like, if I come out, I haven't played a ice hockey game in like 8 years. I'm gonna be terrible, and I'm gonna wear a full face shield. They're like, you can't wear a full face shield. I'm like, if I get my jaw broken, I can't do my job. Whereas you're a real estate guy, you can still do your job.
Yep.
So I don't play ice hockey anymore. I would like to, but there's so many things that, go into not being able to play. But I'll play floor hockey, and people bitch and complain that I don't back check. I'm like, guys, it's
floor hockey.
Floor hockey.
You're not supposed to back. If you're a forward in floor hockey and you're back checking, you're not playing it right.
No, exactly. Come on, man. I'm Alex Kovalev here. Like, I play one way.
What do you think of the things that are going on right now, particularly with the NHL, but it does go into junior hockey as well? Guys like Kimalua, I think is his name.
Kimalua, yeah.
He came forward. Brent Sopel from the past, Patrick O'Sullivan, coaches like Mark Crawford, Bill Peters, Mike Babcock. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I always say, and I've had this conversation with a few people, but I've said, you know what, like in society we've evolved. I think back to 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, further on, like society's evolved so much in such a short time. And I'm a firm believer in that hockey has also evolved. I mean, there was a pretty big kind of eye turn, if you will, or head turn with the Mike Babcock and Bill Peters part in Lethbridge, because both are former coaches of the University of Lethbridge Pronghorns men's hockey team, and so that kind of turned some heads in town where I'm at now. And I think hockey's evolved. Now what they did, of course, is not right, and I mean, Bill Peters had to step down. Mike Babcock got fired for hockey reasons, but then it came out after all the other things that he's done. I don't know. It's an interesting debate to have. I think it makes you realize that, hey, like, it's a workplace, as much as, I mean, but like the thing is like I said, with hockey, I think back to when I was a kid going to Glacier King games, and, granted it's the lowest level hockey you can play, but you'd go and you'd hope that there's going to be 8 or 10 fights that night, and, just it be an absolute crap show. And, that was what it was, Jungle B, right? Yep. And so, like, hockey's evolved from that point on the ice. I think it's evolved off the ice. And, I saw the release. Mark Crawford put out a release statement saying, I've moved along as a person. I've taken counseling. I think there's always this kind of mentality that hockey is separate from society, right? I mean, you think back to the Todd Bertuzzi situation and even the Marty McSorley situation with Brashear. And, there was always the wall. It happened on the ice. It can't be in the law of public society. Like, it can't go to that route because it happened on the ice. What happens on the ice stays on the ice, right? Well, we've developed to the point now where that's not the case. Like, this is a workplace. If we're working at a radio station and our program director wants us to do better on the air, he can't kick us in the back or
grab us by the scruff of the neck.
Exactly. So I think people realize that now, but you go back 10, 15, 20 years, never, in my mind, never does racism ever need to belong. But the motivation tactics have changed significantly, today from yesteryears.
That's why I was good with the Crawford thing. With them, they're allowing him to come back on January 2nd. He'll come back as an assistant or associate coach or whatever he was. I had already heard that Crawford had done what he said he did, was go to therapy, and he's been in therapy, and he's taking care of his anger issues and everything that came before it. So at least for the last decade, he's been working on himself to evolve. And I think sports have become a business. And as such, it should be treated as a business. Even if it is a sport, it is just a game. But when you're making, the players are making millions, the owners are making billions, it needs to be a safe workplace. And that goes for coaches abusing players. That goes for headshots in hockey. And I've had my friends yell and scream at me. I'm 51 years old. I think fighting should be out of hockey.
Yeah.
Take it the fuck out. It's not helping anything.
No,
Like Michael Furlan for Vancouver.
I know. Yeah, I know. And with all of the developments over the last 10 years, especially with concussions and head trauma and post-concussion and, all of those other things that go along with it and literal brain damage, I don't disagree. I mean, I know Drew Doughty a couple of days ago said that he still thinks fighting has a place in hockey, and I get it to some degree in that, tempers flare. I mean, I think back to the 2004 Cup final when Iginla fought Vinny Lecavalier, right? I mean, that's I'm trying to win a Stanley Cup, you're trying to win a Stanley Cup, and this is temper, and this is just natural course throughout the course of a game, whereas the staged fights that you used to see where, player X and player Y would line up, and as soon as the puck was out of the hand of the referee, their gloves were off and they're going.
Right.
The NHL and junior leagues have done a really good job at trying to eliminate the staged fight. The instigator penalty came in as a result of that to try and
I think that if they
deter.
continue to penalize and put penalties in place, and I think that guys are going to think twice. Look, if I drop the gloves, I'm in the shower.
Yes.
And if that's going to happen, and you're a guy like a Ginla, or you're a guy like a Bo Horvat, somebody that doesn't fight a lot, but is important to their team, if he knows I get in a fight, I'm gone, I'm done for the game.
Yeah, I know. And so, like, in Junior A, when I was broadcasting Junior A, and I imagine it's still the same, if you fought, it's a game misconduct. In the Western League, it's not. You fight, you stay in.
Yeah.
Of course, in the NHL, it's not. I think if you want to get rid of fighting in hockey without completely banning it, that's the best first course. Is if you fight,
you're done.
Your night's done.
Yep.
Right? Like you're in the box. So you're right. guys like important players, a Horvat or a McDavid. I mean, McDavid doesn't really fight, but if he comes along to that point, it crosses your mind. Well, if I do this, I'm done.
Right.
I think the next step to that would be if you fight, you're done for this game and the next game. You get a game suspension to go along with it. But I don't know if it'll ever get to that point, especially in the NHL.
Well, not with too many Don Cherry heads that I still call them, right? Like some of these guys, they just can't let go of the Don Cherry era of the rock'em sock'em, and that's the way hockey should be. And
and like I said, I mean, it goes back to that. Hockey's evolved from that. Like you watch an NHL game now compared to 2002, 2003, and beyond that, like the clutching and the grabbing and the interference, and
ever since the lockout, the game has got faster.
Yeah, like it. I don't know really if you need it anymore. I mean, you look at any team that's won a cup in recent years. I mean, have they had a enforcer? Like the only guy that I can think of would
be Wilson.
Yeah. But even Tom Wilson's pretty damn good
score.
Hockey player. Like he's a pretty damn good hockey player that plays with a little edge.
Yeah.
Vegas has Ryan Reeves, who I think you could throw into that.
I think so.
He's out there for one reason, to bump and crash, and if he has to fight, he will. That kind of mindset of he's more of a bruiser fighter than anything else. But hockey's evolved on and off the ice, and hopefully it continues to evolve. I think with what's happened in the last month or so, and it kind of really all started with the Don Cherry thing, right? Like that was kind of the tip of the iceberg that kind of started it all, and then this happened and that happened and so on and so forth. Hopefully it continues to evolve, because ultimately those, especially like in the junior levels too, like they're kids.
They're kids.
17, 18 years old. Like,
and that's the thing I don't want to see is 16, 17-year-old kids beating the shit out of each other. That's why I quit hockey in the 80s when I played. I probably last played hockey. It was bantam back then, so what's U14 now, I think?
Yeah.
And
that's changed too.
Yeah. As it should. It should.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's easier to understand U16 than it is bantam or midget or whatever.
100%.
Yeah. And so, but that's why I quit back in the day, because it was just all goons, and it was like, I want to watch hockey. Like, I like guys like Gretzky and Lemieux and Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby, these guys that just have so much skill that when they touch the puck, they're going to make something happen. And that's what I like to watch.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And I've always liked that, too. And, I mean, even I remember as a kid, like, it's funny because Mark Crawford has been kind of at the forefront of all this stuff in the NHL. But I remember as a kid, he was the head coach of the Canucks. And at that time, I mean, I was pretty formative years of watching hockey and learning the game and playing as well. But like Vancouver in that era played such a high tempo game with, Marcus Naslund and Morrison and Bertuzzi and Jovanovski, and like they played such an up tempo game that that's the type of game I love, because that's the type of game I watched when I was a kid. And I like the physical aspect to the game of hockey, but I don't know if fighting needs it. Though I will say, you get a good scrap, sometimes it gets you going.
Yeah, sometimes you hit the ass out of the seat.
Yeah, exactly.
But McDavid can do that too when he picks up the puck.
That's the thing, and I've heard some people say, I know when the rules changed to the NHL and they got rid of the 2-line pass to open it up, and the power play aspect. For me, I don't know if you need 8 power plays in a game to make a hockey game exciting. We had a game right before the Christmas break where it was 0-0 into the third period, but it was one of the best games all year because of the scoring chances and the saves, and it wasn't a power play riddled game where a hockey game doesn't have to be 6-5 to be exciting.
Like the Oilers Stars game the other day is 2-1 final. Ooh, what a game!
Yeah, yeah.
That's
like
2 high-powered offensive teams were just
100%
amazing.
Just go back and forth, play. Like, let the players decide it.
Yeah.
That's my firm belief. I hate these ticky-tack frickin' hooking penalties.
Yeah.
I lifted the guy's stick.
Yeah.
That's a hooking penalty? Like, come on.
Where do you think the Canucks are? And are they retooling? Are they rebuilding? Are they successful?
Yeah, I don't get to watch as much as I would like. I don't get to watch the NHL as much just because we're, like, in the WHL, we play 68 games, which is down from 72 what it was prior. But, like, we play Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, so, like, all the prime time when hockey's actually on TV, unless you're in a regional situation. Like, I watch the odd Oilers and Flames game because they're on Sportsnet West, so if we have a Thursday off, I'll throw it on when I'm doing my prep or whatever. But, I think the Canucks are on the right track for sure. I mean, when you've got guys like Brock Besser, Bo Horvat, and Elias Pettersson, and Quinn Hughes, I mean, you're on
that Hughes kid.
He's
Woo!
good. Yeah, he's
Wow.
really, really good. I think you're in the right area. You're on the right track.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, I think it seems like it's every year that the Canucks have a ridiculous amount of injuries, which impacts. But I think they're on the right track. If you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, you should be excited about the future. It's funny because
they're never happy, though.
That's true. I know. I was listening to Sportsnet 650 on the way in, driving here, and fans calling in, "Oh, you need to fire the coach." It's like, they're above 500. Like, get a grip.
Yeah.
Like,
firing Green is not their problem.
No, like, who are you going to replace him with, right?
Babcock?
So,
No, Christ, no.
Exactly. So, I don't. It's funny. I always say my dad always gets pissed off at me when I say this to him because he'll text me during a Canucks game and I'll text back. And obviously, I still kind of root for the Canucks. I hope that they do well, having grown up watching them. But I don't live and die by the Canucks anymore like I used to because, like, my dad will text me, "That's a stupid penalty. They're always out to get the Canucks." Like, no, give it 10 minutes. There'll be a penalty the same way to the Oilers, right?
Yep.
So I don't live and die by it anymore because I mean, I'm busy enough that I don't get to watch it as much as I used to, and I don't know if it's just. I think part of it is because of the job that I do. I watch everything with an objective eye almost now.
Kind of hard to look at it as a fan.
Breaking it down more than anything, and I like to think that I'm close and on the cusp of maybe being actually, broadcasting in the National Hockey League. That, to throw up a picture of me in a Canucks jersey or vent and rant on Facebook or Twitter about the Canucks and the ref, like, it's just not kind of.
Yeah, and then
like if the
Flames were suddenly going to go, well, we were going to hire the guy, but now he's a fucking asshole. So.
No, so I don't know. I don't really cheer like I used to anymore.
Yeah.
It always gets my dad mad when I say that to him. I'm like, chill out, give it 20 minutes, it'll balance out.
Let's take you on the bus. I want to know some cool stories from the bus. Like, what's the prettiest city you've ever visited on the road?
Victoria.
Victoria.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm partial. I'm biased to Victoria. Portland's nice. The thing is, people always say and ask, like, "Oh, you must love your job because you get to travel so much." I'm like, yeah, I see the inside of my hotel room, the gym, the breakfast room, and then
the rink,
the 2 roads that lead to the rink, and then back. So I don't get to actually. It's not because we're like in the WHL, we travel in. Like if we play, we'll play a 4-game and 5-night road trip in Saskatchewan. So we'll drive in the day before the first game. We'll say it's a Saskatoon, Prince Albert, and then a Regina Moose Jaw road trip. Like we'll travel into Saskatoon on the day before the game. So we get in at 6:30, dinner's at 7, and then it's like, oh, I should probably prep for the game tomorrow night kind of deal. And then you play your game, and then you travel up to Prince Albert, you travel back, you then on your day off, you travel from Saskatoon to Regina, so there isn't a lot of downtime. It's not like the NHL where even they don't have a lot of downtime, but you can travel in and you have a day off before the game. You can go. I'm friends with Brendan Batchelor, who does the play-by-play for the Canucks now on the radio on 650, and like I'll see pictures on Instagram or whatever with him, and he's at a football game or a baseball game, or
Where do you have time to do
come
that,
on,
Batch?
man. Yeah,
Come
on, Batch. So yeah, we don't get a lot of time, but we do get to go to some nice cities, you know. And then there's the Prince Alberts and Swift Currents, which are like, let's get in, play, and get out. But
what's been your favorite rink?
Well, that's a good question. My favorite rink. It's pretty cool to. The first couple times, it was pretty cool to broadcast in the NHL rinks because the Calgary Hitmen play at Scotiabank Saddledome, and where the Flames play, of course, and then the Oil Kings played at Rexall, and then now at Rogers. Rogers sucks because it's so freaking high. Oh my god! Like it's like the broadcast booth to the ice is 9 stories above.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like you try and call a hockey game 9 stories above the ice surface, and you're like a story and a half probably back from the ice surface. So it's tough. Rexall Place was pretty freaking cool the first time. Pacific Coliseum, I got to broadcast there a couple of times before the Giants moved out to Langley, so that was pretty cool going back. Like those old rinks, right, where you get to like kind of walk down and like, holy crap, like Gordie Howe played here, Wayne Gretzky played here, like, you know, this is cool.
The history.
Yeah. So like, and then for like the junior rink aspect of it, I got to broadcast in the, what do they call it, in Flin Flon? I can't think of the name there now. But the old Flin Flon rink there, 57 Memorial Cup Drive, because they won the Memorial Cup in 1957, and that was pretty cool because it's like the, what the hell is it called? I can't think of it. Drawing a blank, but that was pretty cool rink because
that's where Bobby Clark would have played, right?
Yeah, Reggie Leach, and you know, so that was pretty cool from a junior A level, and then the WHL level. I mean, it's take your pick. You know, it's pretty cool.
Who has the most rabid fan base in the WHL outside of your Hurricanes?
Yeah, well, Lethbridge is pretty good. I should say, like it's a great rink there to broadcast from. Has great sight lines. Good atmosphere. You know, it's a kind of an enclosed, like the roof is a little bit lower compared to some other rinks, so the noise gets trapped, which makes the ambient pretty nice. Rabid fan base. Educated or uneducated? Sometimes you're like, what the hell are you screaming about? Brandon is pretty good because they love their Wheat Kings.
Yeah. I'm assuming Kamloops, the Blazers.
Kamloops is good.
Rockets.
And then getting down into the States is a lot of fun because they're not like they're down in like there's teams in Spokane, Tri-City, which is in Kennewick, and then Seattle, Everett, and Portland, and they love their hockey, but they're not armchair GMs like Canadians are, right? So. Like they're there for the excitement of the game and the experience, and they just take it all in. Where like you call a game in Victoria or Lethbridge or Regina, and it's like, well, why is that guy on the power play? They got to trade this guy. So everybody has their own opinion in Canada, as we always do with hockey. So getting down into the States is always fun. We go every other year, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they're there for the time. I know in Seattle, if the Thunderbirds score, their goal song comes on, and then all the fans chant "Lethbridge sucks, Lethbridge sucks." So it's pretty fun. It's a lot of fun, man. It's busy. I mean, it's really truly busy, and it chips away at your personal life. That's for sure. You know.
Where do you want to go? I know where you want to end up. So how are you going to get there? Because when I met you and you were the young man that you were, 17 years old, 18 years old, and you had this one vision, this one goal, you're going to be the play-by-play guy for the Vancouver Canucks. And John Shorthouse is not going to live forever.
Well, yeah, but he's only like 50.
I know.
Like,
he's only like my age, so he's going to be around for a while.
Come on.
You may want to think like Carolina, maybe Florida, maybe like the Canadian accent somewhere down there.
Yeah, I've said this to a few people, and I'll say it to you. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to make the NHL.
Yeah.
That's like if it's as the voice of the Vancouver Canucks, I mean, that'd be a childhood dream come true, absolutely, and it would be awesome to be close to home. But then I've said because I applied for the Canucks job when they went from TSN to Sportsnet when Brendan got the job, and he's a great broadcaster and a great friend. But so I applied for the job, and of course I didn't get it. But I said to my dad after, I said, as much as it would be nice to have the Canucks job, I don't know if I'd want every Joe Blow from high school or my aunt that I haven't talked to in 4 years texting me for tickets or autographs or, the inside scoop on things, So if it's as the voice of the Canucks, awesome. But Shorty's a fantastic broadcaster. Batch is a fantastic broadcaster. Like, those guys are going to be there for a long, long time. So that's kind of, I think, out.
Yeah.
But anywhere. I really, truly would go anywhere. It's hard as hell to get into the States, man. It's really difficult to...
You got to ramp up that Canadian accent. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to get into the States. I've applied for a bunch down there, but I've never really gotten a sniff. But, anywhere. I wouldn't... I'd gladly be the radio voice or television voice of the Edmonton Oilers or Calgary Flames, too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine calling that playoff round between Calgary and Edmonton.
Yeah,
if both teams actually get their shit together and get it going, because neither one of them look like they really want to win it.
Yeah.
I picked Vegas at the start of the year, by the way.
To win the cup?
Yep, I did.
Really? Yeah.
Started off a little slow.
Yeah, they did.
They've got a big push right now.
Kelly McCrimmon will have a little bit of work to do, I think.
Yeah, and Arizona now getting Taylor Hall changes things, I think, down in the Pacific Division.
Yeah, we on Lethbridge, we have Ty Nash is a player, and his dad is Tyson Nash, who's a former NHLer, and is the Arizona Coyotes not play-by-play, but color guy on their television station there. So
the videos he does with Biz Nasty are hilarious.
Absolutely. So funny. But
so funny.
Pillow talk, good stuff. But so when I saw the Coyotes make the trade for Hall, I text Tyson. I was like, "What do you think?" Pretty excited. It's funny, like how far the Arizona Coyotes have come, to be able to go and get a guy like Phil Kessel and a guy like Taylor Hall. Like those are incredible players. But
did they lose the deal if he doesn't re-sign, or I mean, if they win the cup this year, then they won the trade, right?
Yeah, I agree. And Rick Tocchet's done a fantastic job there as the coach. But I don't know. I like that's a big deal. I don't know what the conditions are on the draft picks, the first and third.
If he does one or the other, it goes up to a second. If he does both, meaning they win a playoff round and he re-signs, then it goes to the first.
Okay. So, and then with the prospects, like Nick Merkley's a really good player, but I'm not sure he's an NHL guy. Like, he played for the Kelowna Rockets in the WHL, and his biggest thing is foot speed. And the game today, like, you have to be able to skate.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Nick Merkley skates well enough to play in the NHL. I mean, he's been in the AHL for 3 years and has played but one NHL game.
Yeah.
And then the Schnarr kid's pretty good, and the Ball guy, it will be pretty good. I think he's going to play on Canada too. So for the World Juniors. So and then the picks. I mean, it's a big deal. But if Arizona wins and if they can get Hall locked down, and they've got the cap space to do it,
they do. But does he want to sign there? I think he's going to July 1. I think he wants to see what the going rate is for Taylor Hall.
I think so too.
Yeah,
and it'll be high.
It's going to be high, but I don't think Taylor Hall is going to command Mitch Marner money.
No, I would peg him in the $9.5
around
million range.
Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, between
9.
8 and 10 somewhere. And it's still he'll probably go to Vegas.
They'll just keep winning Stanley Cups
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
no state tax there, right? Like,
Exactly.
frick, a $5 million contract in Vegas is like a $10 million contract anywhere else.
Yeah. Who's going to win the World Juniors?
I hope Canada.
Well, we hope Canada,
Yeah, they're young this year. I don't know if
the Americans look really good again, or
yeah, Americans look good. I mean, it's in the Czech Republic, so the Czechs will be, I think, probably pretty good.
Yeah.
I haven't really had a chance to dive fully into it, just with the schedules. But
Yeah. I guess you work over it too, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have, I think it's 5 or 6 games during the World Juniors, so I don't get to watch that as much as I used to anymore. It's like, being a hockey broadcaster, you're not
Get
a
to watch hockey.
fan anymore almost. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like a fan of the game,
Yeah.
but not necessarily a fan of said team.
Yeah. Man, it was good having you here.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm no Roof Phelps. I'm not an award-winning or multi-award-winning broadcaster.
You're my award-winning broadcaster.
Yes.
I feel responsible for you.
Without you, man, I wouldn't be where I am
You
today,
were my baby
so.
broadcaster.
Yeah.
That sounded weird. Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
my
Good
pleasure.
luck. I know you're going to do great things. I know you'll end up in the NHL one day.
Hopefully. Here's hoping.
You've been listening to The Doghouse with Andrew Davis.